Whether you keep them in your home or love to see them in theirs, these are the creatures that bring us all together.
Reptiles. We're going to be delving into the experiences of reptile lovers from around the block and around the world. This is the Reptile Talk Podcast.
What's up, everybody? This is Jeremy Turgeon from Brassman Reptiles.
And I'm Rob, and I'm keeping it real.
And we're in a different space.
We are. I like the lighting here a lot better.
Yeah, it is much better. We're literally
so
right next to where we usually record. And mainly it's because I got this cool couch.
Hey.
So we're using this couch in a different space. So, yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we're in a morgue or a freezer anymore, because that was terrible. I did a live stream a while back with like Billy and a bunch of other people, and Billy was like, "Why does it look like you're inside a freezer?" And I was like, "I don't know."
I am.
Yeah, it was pretty intense, but dude, I'm pretty stoked about this show.
Dude, this is like a very cool and interesting show for me, because the guest that we have on tonight is actually someone who I've known for a really long time, and one of the people who helped like push me to get into reptiles, like and education with reptiles, which is like super cool, super cool.
Hell yeah.
So Jeremy, are you excited?
I'm super excited.
Okay. So tonight we have Mike Ralbovsky, and he's the herpetologist and curator at Rainforest Reptile shows and RRS Oasis, and I'm super pumped to have him on tonight.
Let's get him on
Let's
here.
get him right on here. Hey,
Bam!
man, how's
What's
it going?
up, dude?
How are you guys?
Dude,
We're doing great, man.
I am so excited to have you on tonight.
I like that couch. I wish I had one here. I'm sitting on a hard chair here.
Got to do what you got to do, you know?
That's
I
it.
know.
That's it. Hey, if it makes you feel any better, for the last 50-something episodes, Rob has been sitting on a bucket with sound foam.
They're not
Nice.
supposed to know that, Jeremy.
Well, now they can, because we upgraded.
Nice.
Oh, my
Should have put a few
goodness.
rocks in that thing.
Yeah, right.
Oh, my goodness.
Ah,
Okay, so
Good times.
Mike, for people who might not know who you are,
Yep.
you've kind of been a staple in New England as someone who does education, and not just New England, but along the East Coast.
29 years.
Wow.
Man.
And he
And I had
did
a
one of my
career
birthday
before that.
programs. Yeah, he did one of my birthday programs when I was like 8 years old or 9 years old,
That's crazy.
which is wild because
That's crazy.
I remember,
look what you started.
look what you
Mike.
started now.
Hey.
Jeez.
That's why I'm in this. That's why I'm here.
See, I was a little bit into reptiles before I saw his program, and I didn't know anyone who had like exotic snakes. Like one of my mom's friends' kids had a garter snake, but that was like it. And then the local pet store had like a berm, but that was it. And then he comes, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, look at all these things! They're amazing."
Yeah, but back then I was probably lecturing with a box turtle, a Gulf Coast box turtle, a rat snake, or the alligator was there, but still it was
And
different
I think it was
back
like
then.
Your big snake was like a boa or something.
Yeah, probably a boa.
My dad had to leave for that program because my dad's still terrified of snakes. And it's so funny because like we told you, like, look, my dad's leaving. He's going to come back when the show is over, blah, blah, blah. He's afraid of snakes. Blah, blah.
Your mom
And so-
sat in the front row with you.
Oh, yeah. Yes, she did. And so when you were packing up, when you were leaving, my dad was just pulling into the driveway as he's heading out with the last box. And so me and my mom are standing on the stairs, and Mike is bringing the last box out, and he goes to my mom, "Hey, if you find that big snake that I lost, make sure that you give me a call." And my dad was like, "Oh, no."
Oh, man.
It was
I
great.
still do that today, Rob. That would never get old, like Gatorade.
So
I
for the,
love it.
for the people who might not know who you are or what your background is, what kind of really got you started into doing reptiles? And I want to ask specifically for me, what specifically got you into education and doing outreach with reptiles with the public?
Well, at a young age, and I have to tell you this story really quick. At a young age, I'm an Air Force brat, and we would travel all over the world. And it was incredible experience, although I never stayed in one place very long except for Florida. And incredible experience. But let me tell you what got me started. I was in third grade, okay, and even younger than that. But third grade, we're in Oklahoma. they have these really cool lizards, Texas horn lizards, horny toads, we used to call them, right?
Mhm.
And they're adults and small ones and big ones. And we lived in a trailer park off base, about 15 miles off base. And we were just in the middle of a cow pasture, for God's sakes. And it was trampled in the cars. You know, we rode our bikes. We had the bikes with the banana seats and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're riding our Schwinns around, and we stop, and there's a lizard running across the dirt, and sitting in a red ant hill, and we go and capture them and bring them in the house and play with them, and that's not just turtles and other kinds of fence lizards and things like that in Oklahoma. There were things everywhere, and so I was kind of like, this is very cool.
Yeah,
That's
hell
awesome.
yeah.
Before that, we were in different places, Florida, my home in St. Augustine. So it was different. But, the coolest experience is what's really started it for me was having that animal in the house on my mother's expensive white bedspread, the old ones with the little beads on them.
Oh, yes.
And the two lizards doing this back and forth, like getting together like that. And man, you know what their defense is, right?
Oh yeah,
They
squirting blood.
spray blood out of
Mhm.
the corners of their eyes, out of those membranes. And man, that bedspread, that white bedspread was it was covered in blood.
no.
Oh man. Yeah, my mother, we had probably a dozen animals in the house. She was like, everybody out.
Oh no.
So we got moved to the shed.
Oh,
But,
hey, at least you got the shed. Hey, that's all I'm saying.
That's
yeah, but a couple weeks later we were back in the house. She forgot really quick.
That's awesome.
Dang.
When
Yeah.
I went to Arizona, I
that's
found
how I
some of
got
those.
started. And my parents always loved nature. I love nature. It's not and the education part of it just come naturally. Working for the alligator farm as a keeper and then an operations manager, and just educating people, helping Greg LaPera, who was at the alligator farm then, writing scripts and different kinds of things to do programming, and that it just kind of went hand in hand. And then doing the research with the University of Florida, with Dr. Kent Vliet and Walter Offenberg, who wrote the book Komodo Dragon at first.
Yeah.
And just knowing him and meeting those guys, and who's the other one? The guy that invented the Nautilus bodybuilding machines, had Gomek, the largest crocodile in the world there, shipped him in on Flying Tiger Airways to his place in Ocala, Florida. I'll think of his name in a minute. But just experiences like that just drove me to this kind of education, and me wanting to give the kids the same kind of experience that I got, like you got, Rob, in your show. My enthusiasm I'm going to turn 62 this year, and I'm not stopping. There's no way. I'm never stopping.
Hell yeah.
They're gonna take me out they're gonna have to have an alligator turn me out. So just no way. I'm not stopping.
I love that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just think about when I was younger and doing, like, just getting started off doing programs, and people were just like, "Oh my goodness, you know so much." And compared to the regular person, I knew quite a bit, and there was still so much for me to learn. But just being able to share with other people why I get excited about reptiles, it goes so far, because when people don't have any frame of reference for why they should appreciate something, they're probably not going to appreciate it.
Right.
But
and they feed off your passion, the passion
Exactly.
that you have, and the passion that you put across in the show is extremely important. And most people don't realize that. They're very monotone. They don't raise their voice. They don't lower their voice. And that makes everything correct.
Yeah.
That
100%.
getting excited with the kids and getting right down on the floor with them and doing those kinds of things. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's something special when you can let a kid pet their first snake, and you can just see them go, yeah, and their mind is just like, that is not what I was expecting that to
Right.
feel like. And,
Yep.
and just, asking them what they're experiencing. Like, that's one of my things I like to do is like, so what does it feel like? Or like, what are you feeling right now? And trying to get them to express what's going on in their head so you can get a better feel for how you can help kind of push them to that next level,
Sure. Yep. And I mean, of course, during COVID, we didn't do anything,
Mm-hmm.
but it we're still trying to educate on Zoom and things like that and do those kind of things. But I'm glad this is almost over with, because as well as you are, I want to get back out there just like you do.
Yeah.
I don't, and we have been. I've been in Connecticut. I've been in Rhode Island. I've been up to Vermont. So we are starting to get back out there, but it's taking time to do that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'm super excited to have in-person programs. I actually just did a Zoom program the other day for this library. I've been doing programs for them for this is the third year in a row that I've been doing this for them now. And they've got slowly getting a bigger and a bigger and a bigger group of kids who are coming to it because they're just like kind of, the moms will tell each other. And then, the kids come back and they want to see some of the animals that they saw last year and everything. And it's been so cool because when I first heard about the Zoom programs, I was like, kids are not going to be into it. They are just not going to care. It's going to be like watching another YouTube video or another thing on their TV. They're just going to gloss over. They're not going to care at all. And what I've found is that when I do the programs, man, the kids are just as into it as if I was there. I mean, I would like them to be able to touch things, but the kids are still like, oh my God, look at the corn snake. Look at, the ball pythons. They just love it.
Yeah. Well, when I was up there the other day, I was like, look at that ball python, that red ball python. Look at the color in that thing. I still have that enthusiasm too.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I teach every Monday. I teach music. That's what I did before I started working here at NERB. I was teaching music full time. So I have a residency at my old high school down in Western Mass. And 1 week, the band director had asked, he's like, we want to try to do something to kind of get the kids just a little more like energized, and just because it's boring sitting on Zoom 6 hours a day in school, whatever. Yeah. He's like, do you think you could show some of your snakes? And I was like, hell yeah! Like, absolutely. Yeah. So, but the best part was like, there's one class every week that's 65 kids in one Zoom meeting. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Right. So, and it's a mixed population of general education students, special education students, and a whole bunch. So there's not a lot of interaction that generally happens between the students. Man, I tell you, when I walked into my snake room, the amount of like reaction emojis and kids that turned on their cameras because they were like, what the hell is going on right now?
Right. Yeah.
I thought this guy was just a geek who played trumpet.
The excitement is out there. And, I noticed in just the shows that we've done recently in the past few weeks that the kids they're pretty wound up.
Yeah.
They've been cooped up a long time. Yeah. You got to be patient. You got to, you just can't say sit there. They're up, they're down, they're all around. And, I just take the animals down on the floor and just put it on the ground with them and let them touch it and talk about it and, make sure they're safe. And it's just been such a whirlwind. I'm just glad, what I did during COVID, right?
What's that?
Started working on a farm, right?
I was working on a farm.
Yep.
Yeah, the Davis farmland out there. They have all the endangered farm animals, and I'm taking care of Highland cows and Poitou and Jacob sheep and all this other llamas.
That's awesome.
All this other stuff. Not doing what I love to do. Left my manager, my facility manager here, and my wife to take care of everything. And we have 70 venomous snakes, and most of those, I would say, almost half of those animals are cobras.
Oh, so
they're taking care of the monocles, the forest, and all that. I mean, I would come back on a weekend when I had a day off and do the really, really aggressive ones like the mamba and stuff like that. But, they really did a great job in holding us to our standards, where we were and our cleanliness. And I can't say enough good about them both. Kristen and Joni, they did a fantastic job of helping us. And our volunteers, from Kat to, down to Mike, who comes in and helps us, they were right behind us the whole time. So
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Big shout out to all those people, because
absolutely.
A lot of people don't realize that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that not everyone gets to see to make these cool things happen. And
right.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they see us out there educating, Rob, but they don't, and they don't see what happens with this animal, when it's in its cage, and it's, indigos are probably the messiest snakes. Indigos are the messiest snakes in the world. I mean, when they crap, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the people who are listening on audio, if you're not watching on YouTube, by the way, you should check out our YouTube.
You should.
Jeremy's got live recordings of these episodes. But if you're listening to the recording of this just on your audio, Mike is holding this beautiful Eastern Indigo. And man, that is such an incredible snake. It looks like it's like about 6 feet long.
She's almost 7, but she's about 6 feet long, and she's just beautiful. It's an animal that came from law enforcement, and unfortunately, it was in a bad. I don't think it was really in a bad situation, but there was no licensing for the animal.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
that's the tough part with the Eastern Indigos, is that if you don't have that proper licensing for them, it's no way.
Right.
You can't document where it came from. It might come from a sketchy spot.
It's federal animal just because of the law, but it's one of the most gorgeous animals you've ever come across. I mean, my favorite snake in the world is the Eastern Indigo. I just you love those blood pythons and the scrubs and
scrubs,
that. I these guys are just awesome. I mean, I'm never going to get another one because I'm not going to go purchase one. I'm not going to go, they're never going to come out of the wild, even though they are in the comeback, but it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. I know a couple people who are breeding the Easterns, and they've got all their permits and everything.
Yeah.
But it was a process to get those permits.
Oh, yeah. U.S. Fish and Wildlife is not an easy process.
No, not at all.
It was when I went to get those injurious permits when we needed those. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't want to think about it. And, and my main thing is I want everyone to own an animal. And I don't care if it's a crocodile and you have the expertise to take care of it, so be it. But we shouldn't be doing it in our backyard with a crocodile or an alligator.
For real. Yeah.
We should have, and they should have the proper licenses. That's all I care about. I just, I think everybody should be able to have an animal, educate with it, or, have it as they want it and take care of it properly. And that's where, a lot of this stuff doesn't transmit to some of what's going on in the trade today, the laws that are being enacted against us, about education. And, pretty soon we may only have to do it on, like we're talking here, and describing the animal online or pictures, Zoom or something like that. And that's not good for kids. It's not good for building our future biologists, herpetologists, archaeologists. It's not good for that.
100%, 100%. And that's kind of what the HSUS has kind of been playing to is, don't let people interact with these things, because when you don't have any association with something, you just go, who cares about it? And you don't you don't want to protect it.
Right. And what touching an animal does, and I don't care if it's a cat, a dog, a hamster, a gerbil, or a snake. I don't care what it is. When a kid touches that animal, there's an immediate love and appreciation for the animal and the habitat that it lives in. Because you're going to protect more habitat by that child touching that animal than you ever will by going to the legislature and say, protect this 100 acres of forest and swamp. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, or put timber rattlesnakes in the Quabbin, and then people say that they're going to...
What a fiasco that was.
That was so ridiculous.
Oh my God. And they've been there for 100 years.
Yeah.
It's not like they're not there.
they're going to drink the water, Mike, and that the venom is going to get into the water. But oh my gosh, and rattlesnakes can swim crazy distances.
I don't think people have ever heard of giardia or stuff like that.
So ridiculous.
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when people don't have any interaction with these animals. One of the things that I like to do on the programs that I do at Nerd is when we talk about venomous reptiles, I like to, ask people if they know what kind of venomous snakes live in our native area.
Right.
And then ask them if they know a little bit of history about that, because like one of the first symbols for the United States was the Gadsden flag with the rattlesnake coiled up on it. It says, "Don't tread on me."
Tread on me. Yep.
And Benjamin Franklin wrote I think it was a 2-page article on why he thought the timber rattlesnake should be the creature that represents the United States, because they don't go out of their way looking for a fight. They stand their ground. But if you mess with them, they are highly toxic and they can cause you a great deal of pain.
Yep.
And when people kind of sit there and they think about it and they go, "Oh, well, I didn't really think about it like that." And you're like, "Oh, well, you know how a rattlesnake has a rattle on it?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Why do you think it has a rattle?" To say, "Hey, don't step on me. I'm right here." It lets you know, "Hey, I'm real loud. I'm right here. Leave me alone."
And it probably came from being out west in the prairies and things like that. And that adaptation probably came from, not wanting to be stepped on by a herd of buffalo or something like that, antelope or whatever it might have been. Who knows where or why that adaptation came about. But it's certainly, there are theories out there, but certainly, it has to be a reason like that, because it's just a warning not to step on me and that. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And then when you kind of hand that to people and you go, "Hey, look, just think about it, and think about why, a rattlesnake doesn't want to get stepped on. No snake wants to get stepped on." And so if they can let you know, "Hey, I'm right here," you're probably going to go, "Wow, look at that loud snake over there. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go the opposite way." And it gives every animal the opportunity to just leave them alone. And that's kind of what they want. They don't want to mess with us. We don't want to mess with them. And as long as you, keep your breath, then you're good.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yep.
So you do have quite a few venomous snakes there. Most of those have come from seizures, people keeping them illegally, not having permits to keep
All
them.
of them.
Yep. Yeah. So do you see that there's any sort of trends that come in with
I
the
can
species?
tell you what's being sold in the pet trade just by what we have.
Yep.
And and I joke about it, but honestly, I hope someday that I don't have to do this. But it's something that we got into many years ago. We had a cobra loose in Stoneham, Massachusetts. Gentleman named, I can't remember his last name, but he changed his name to Anthony Ferrari. Lived next to the Robin Hood School, had an Egyptian banded cobra, and let that animal go. And it got into the school, caused a huge panic. And, the environmental police called us. Dr. French called us from down here. And he says, "We need someone to come and do this." And I said, "Well, who's your expert?" And he said, "You are." I'm like, I don't think I'd been in the state more than a couple years, 3-4 years. And we didn't really have, only a show reputation and not that. But we went in there and we briefed everybody and I trained the officers. And, about 2 weeks later, I get a phone call and I'm being escorted by the state police down the highway to the school to get this animal under control. So it does happen, and it's unfortunate, but there are people like you and I and Jeremy and Kevin and people like that out here that care enough not to kill the animals, but to save them and to educate people why this happened, and we don't want it to happen again. And we certainly don't want people owning animals that they shouldn't have, So it's just, and we're riding a very fine line, Rob. You know that. We as a company ride a very fine line. And it's difficult because, sometimes I think, well, why can't they own a monitor lizard in Massachusetts?
Right.
Where
there's so many people who've got permits for them now.
Right. And now you can get permits for them fairly easy. It's not a difficult thing, but it's still, a process. So a lot of people don't want to do that process. So
Yeah, I think that it's interesting to see how the different states handle things, and which states kind of get it right in some respects, and then some states that probably are kind of slacking in other respects. Um,
Yeah.
but I wish that more places looked at things kind of rationally, because I get people all the time who come to our store and they're like, oh, like I want to get a reticulated python, but I live in Massachusetts. And I'm like, well, you can't have them. And they go, well, if it gets out, is it going to live? And I'm like, well, no, it's not going to live. And they're like, oh, is it going to kill me? And I'm like, probably not. But
Right.
it's just kind of how it is.
States have different criteria they work by. It depends on the state you're in. One of the criteria here, is it dangerous to man? Is a reticulated python dangerous to man?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if it's 15 feet and it's aggressive, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's, a lot of that is not, it was, back then it was thought out, but today we need to look at what we're doing now today.
Yeah.
And
I wish more states would reconsider, just to come back and look at things again, and see where we're at compared to, because Mass just changed a few years ago to allow green tree pythons and to allow chameleons and emerald tree boas and stuff like that. And they kind of changed, because back in the day, I remember when I was applying for my permits for chameleons, they were saying, oh, all chameleons are wild caught. No one's breeding chameleons. They can't keep them alive in captivity. And, this, and this, and this, and this. And a lot of those things have changed now, where most of the chameleons that are bought and sold in the United States are produced here in the United States, especially for like panther chameleons and veiled chameleons and Jackson's chameleons.
Right.
And then, we've come leaps and bounds away from the care that they used to have back then,
right. Difficulty of care doesn't really apply anymore.
Yeah.
We have really good care for animals, and
and the resources to gain that knowledge are so much more available.
I mean, if you could look around me here, I'm surrounded by bookcases.
Yes.
My display cases are behind me, but my bookcases are to the sides, and they're chocked full of every book you could possibly think of. And this is just part of it. My library at home is massive.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
I just read every book I can possibly get, and I like to see people buying those kinds of things and reading, and there's lots of great information out there on animals, period.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
100%. Yeah, and Rob and I certainly have talked a lot on the podcast just about, like, the nice thing about social media is if you're interested in learning more about a certain species, there are Facebook groups, and depending on what you're looking at, sometimes you can even talk directly to the people that may have first worked with them, or the people that are working with them currently, and you can get not just the notated information from a book, but you can get some real life experience that somebody's had working with those animals. When before it was like, well, I hope I run into that one guy from Southern California while I'm all the way here in New England.
Right. Now you can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Online, you can do that. My son took a job with Brevard Zoo recently, within the past 2 years, and he's now going to be promoted to a venomous supervisor, and then he's going to go to Croc School at St. Augustine, where I learned my trade.
That's awesome.
It's very cool to have at least one of my 5 following in my footsteps and doing what I want. Although I love him here, he really needs that experience out there, and to get that real world experience is huge.
Yeah, it's one thing to learn, from your family who you spent every day with growing up and doing this every single day. And then you might learn something from how a different place does it a little bit, better than you might learn it from your own family, just because the way you absorb information and stuff like that. I'll say that when I did programs with my mom, we definitely had ways that we did things and information that we utilized and gave out. But from going to programs with other people and watching other people do programs and then doing it at other facilities, I've learned so much that I probably wouldn't have learned just by staying and doing my own thing, back where I was at.
Yep. And you have so many great experiences out there with people. And although I do come home and I have to decompress.
Yeah.
I have to kind of go, okay, don't bother me anymore. Leave me alone for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And most of that is Boston traffic.
I don't know how
yeah.
you do it because
Dude,
my goodness.
no way. Yeah,
I
it's
can't
bad.
stand it.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Having to drive up 128 at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
No.
Oh,
No.
you learn a lot of back roads really quick.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Seriously. I used to feel very similarly about Boston traffic, and I still really dislike Boston traffic. But the one thing that put that into perspective for me was
When you went to LA?
when I went to LA
Yeah.
playing. I had a show in LA, and it was supposed to be a 20-minute drive from the rehearsal space to the gig venue.
Right.
And as soon as I heard the GPS say merge onto 405, I was like, oh, we're gonna be stuck for forever. And it took 3 hours for what should have been a 20-minute drive. And I was like, you know what, Boston might not be that bad.
I'll just get out and walk. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I know.
It was
At some points in traffic here, you could just stop and have a picnic on the side of the road.
Yeah.
That hurts my soul.
I know what you mean. So
deep level.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you're lucky to be up there.
Right. So I want to ask you, has there ever been like a moment that like really surprised you or something that like really hit you deep, like at a program that you're doing? Because I found like every now and again I'll have a situation where like someone catches me completely off guard with a question, and after doing this for like 20 years or 15 years or however long I've been doing this, I feel like I've heard most of the questions, and every now and again someone will throw one out and I'm like, I have no idea what the answer to that is.
I'm pretty well versed in even tigers, lions, and stuff like that. I have a friend that owns a place out in Pennsylvania that is a ex-state trooper, and they have tigers and stuff like that, and we helped them move them off the mountain. And
Wow.
so I have a lot of experience in different animals, and I don't think I've ever been really stumped. But you know what, Rob? I wouldn't lie to anyone. If a child asked me a question that I didn't know, I would say, listen, I don't know. I'm going to tell you this. I will get the answer for you because I will call an expert that knows more than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get you the correct answer. I'm not going to stand there and give them a story, a yarn that they're not going to understand. And I'm going to go get them the answer, and I'm going to email their mom back, or I'm going to call that kid on the phone and say, this is what it is, buddy.
I found out. Yeah.
I found
That's
out
awesome.
this is what it is. Yeah. It's just not worth the aggravation. But I'll tell you something really cool that really startled me. I've been doing this for so long. Just before COVID started, I did a program for the state of Connecticut out in Session Woods, Connecticut, which is way up in the north corner there, northwestern corner. And that's their main, where the biologists are and things like that. They have a really nice setup up there. And I'm doing the thing, and it's on venomous snakes. I'm talking about the venomous, and I got a rattlesnake on stage, and I'm pulling him back with a stick, and I'm playing back and forth. And there's a kid, not a kid, an adult, walking back and forth in the back of the room, and he's caught my eye because he's going back and forth and back and forth, and like he's nervous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, what is going on? And so I kept watching him out of the corner of my eye while I'm talking about the snakes. And I got done with the program. He comes up and he shakes my hand and says, Michael, I want to say thank you to you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He says, you don't remember me, and he shows me this picture of my red Jeep, him sitting on the hood of my red Jeep, with his mom there and sitting on the hood of my red Jeep. And he says, I am now the state biologist for the state of Connecticut.
Wow.
And he lived here in Mass. When I did the show for him at 4 or 5 years old, they lived here in Mass. And he said I was the inspiration, but I can't take credit for that. I just can't, because that guy had to go through so many things, and my animals probably did it for him, but not me. I'm not going to take that kind of credit. So
Dude,
But
you know what?
things like that. I've been doing this long enough where, like you and him, and it's not the only one. There are biologists out there that are biologists because we did programs for them, and not just me, my staff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's rewarding in that aspect, and that's the kind of thing that freaks me out. I don't usually get rattled on stage, but
yeah, I remember when I saw you in Maine, when you were coming up to speak on their law changes up there.
Right.
I was like, it had been a few years since I had seen you. Probably several years since I had seen you. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if you remember, but like when I was like 9 years old, you did a program for me. And then now we're both here talking to the legislature, trying to tell them to not ban reptiles.
We're trying to save our not
lives.
I'm going to say this, and I don't really mean it this way, but we're trying to save our livelihoods. And that's what drives these people crazy, that we're making a living doing what we love to do.
Yeah. And
educating kids. I don't look at it like that because I don't live in a mansion. I live in an old camp. I'm driving a truck with 574,000 miles on it. Woo! My wife is driving a Jeep Cherokee, a 97 Jeep Cherokee with 274,000 miles on it. Damn. We're not making any money. Everything I get, I pour back into my babies. Right back into my animals. So it's not like I'm not taking care of them, and that's what burns me about all this legislation and things like that. It's really...
they are looking at like this small sector of people who are not doing their due diligence, and then they're the sites that they have set are going to ruin people's lives like you and me, where we eat, sleep, and breathe educating the public and pouring our passion out to other people to hopefully be able to change their minds if they're afraid of reptiles, or to, stoke that flame of younger people who are passionate about these or even interested in these animals to go beyond where they think they can go. Because, if you had told me when I was 10 or 11 years old that, one day I'm going to be working at New England Reptile and one of the only guys on our venomous permit, and I've fed a saltwater crocodile at Gatorland last year, I'd be like, what are you talking about? I just want a pet snake. Like, I don't know what you
right.
It never would have, like, I don't know if I would have registered as something that I would have been able to do. But through seeing, educational programs like yours and other people's, and, reaching out to other people and learning from other people, it really just, you can see that fire burn in some people. Like, I get some people who come to the shop and I can see that passion in them, even from like these 5, 6, 7-year-old kids who you can tell in 10 years and 20 years,
they're going to be allowed to keep. They're going to be doing what we're doing. I'll be gone by then, but they're going to be doing what we're doing. So, I hope I'm not gone by then.
You won't be gone by then. Come on, you'll still be doing programs. I'm telling you.
I'm going to be in a walker out there. I'll tell you. They're going to have to wheel me in. They'll wheel me in. They'll put a microphone on me and throw the animal in my lap.
Yeah, they'll wrap the boa around the walker, and then you walk around, have the kids come up to the walker and pet it.
Right.
That'd be great. I could see that.
That's it. Do you have a 401k as an animal educator? No, I got this walker and I'm going to put the boa on it.
With a donation
and
cup
no
at the
retirement plan. There you go. Right? Yeah, that's me.
I feel like that's all of us right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
But honestly, I want to see you, Rob, when I'm not going to be around, honestly, but I want to see you like that in a walker doing that when you're that age. So
I hope so. I hope I'll be able to do that, because
I think you both will. So
when I get to, I like doing programs where I get people who are afraid of reptiles, or people who are, kind of curious or whatever. Those programs are fun because I do like changing people's minds and getting people interested in reptiles who might not have thought about them as like pets before.
Right.
But every now and again, when you get that, that kid who comes in who's like, oh my goodness, like I literally have a kid locally who's like, no, it's about everything, like almost everything. When he comes into the shop and we're talking about this, and he asks about, oh, he's like under 10 years old. He's like, oh, you guys got the yellowtail crebos and the Batias, carinata, and you guys got the spilotes, the tiger rat snakes. And I'm like,
Oh my God.
oh
Is
my
that blowing your mind?
goodness. It seriously blows my mind because like
Yeah.
I probably knew about some of that stuff when I was his age, but the information was not out there like it is today. Like he can Google or watch our YouTube videos and see all these incredible animals from all around the world. And for me, it was like I would take out a book from the library and just like thumb through it. And I was like, wow, I haven't seen that kind of snake before. I wonder what the heck that is. But it wasn't like it's not like it is now, or kids can learn about every single species under the sun. Like
Yeah.
they discover a new species, and then the next week that kid could read the article on his on his dashboard on his computer.
That's
Right.
true.
I mean, I've seen, I actually saw snakes recently that I've never seen before, and in a book, and I was thinking, had no idea that thing even existed from Indonesia or New Guinea or someplace like that. And
Yep.
I can't remember what it was, but I was like, holy cow. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Dude, I
All
love
right.
it.
I want to take a quick pause.
Oh yes, we got to
for
run an ad break
We
real
gotta run
quick.
an ad break.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
90-second ad
90
break.
seconds.
All right.
And
I'm going to
you guys
go
hang
put her
on
back
tight.
in her cage.
Cool.
Perfect.
All right.
We are super happy to announce our partnership with Oasis Exotic Enclosures, a new startup cage manufacturer based in California. Matt and Steph Conard have taken their time developing a wonderful quality product. The VS31 enclosure is their flagship model. It's 31 inches by 20 inches by 20 inches. It's perfect for many smaller species of colubrid, boa, python, or even some nocturnal lizards. Made with industrial-grade polyethylene plastic via in-house rotational molding, these cages have the strongest bonds in plastic manufacturing. Each enclosure has molded-in inverted handles on the sides, making moving from one place to another easier than ever. Each cage also has bolt-threaded inserts to allow you to connect cages vertically or secure them to a wall, creating impregnable security for that ever-growing collection. Also, a wonderful addition, the option to receive wall mounting brackets for your enclosure. That's right, you can attach this cage to any wall in your house at any height you desire. This wonderful patent-pending adaptation provides you the ability to take that cage you have just placed on a table or on the floor up higher without wasting valuable floor space. This also allows you to no longer loom above your pet before entering the enclosure, which is often a high cause of stress. Matt and Steph have just begun their journey into cage manufacturing and have worked to put out a quality product at a comparable price to other companies in the industry. More innovations and designs are forthcoming, and we are excited to see Oasis Exotic Enclosures grow and develop. Please go check them out on Instagram at Oasis Exotic Enclosures and on the web at www.oasiscages.com.
Boom. So you can check out all the links for Oasis Exotic Enclosures. They'll be in the description of this YouTube video. And if you're listening to the audio only version, they'll be available in the description and the show notes. Bam.
There's always more information.
Oh, you're back.
That's right. We're back.
Sorry.
What are you holding?
This is a Bermuda.
It's one of
no.
Rob's favorite snakes. Hey,
Here,
buddy,
Bert,
look
here.
at that.
Look, dude, look at that. Look.
Oh no.
You guys don't deserve it. Sorry.
Oh man. So Rob and I have this thing. So Rob really loves Burmese pythons so much. So we have this understanding that because I own a few berms, so he's like, if you ever own more berms than you do bloods or short tails, we can't be friends anymore. So he's silently been giving me flack because on my Instagram I've been doing some berm appreciation posts and posting some pictures of my berms, and somebody just tagged him in a comment and was like, "Oh, I bet Rob is loving all this berm content." And I was like, "You don't understand. If I don't do a blood and short tail appreciation post after this, he's gonna hate me."
We're gonna have words. So here's the deal.
Rob, do you really like berms, or is this a
This is sarcasm.
Yeah.
I'm
This is
not a
epic
big
sarcasm.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So, so here's the deal. I like berms for education because they're like the Microsoft screensaver. They just have one brain cell that's like bing, 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 bing. So you can hand them to like a whole group of people, and they're like, "Grr, grr." They don't care at all.
It's absolutely true. You're absolutely right.
But I don't personally keep berms. I will never keep berms. They're just not my jam.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
But I
come
do use
on.
it for educational
Like I said,
programs.
you don't have to keep berms because I have retics here for you.
Oh,
That's
no.
there you
I'm
go,
call-
buddy.
I'm calling you. Hey, Jeremy, after this, text me his girlfriend's number.
Okay, I got you.
I have
so
two
many
berms.
retics.
I have I think it's a golden child.
Mhm.
I'm not good with morphs. I'm not a morph
Yeah.
person. As a
Yeah.
herpetologist, I like that natural animal. But I know some of them. But I think this is a golden child, and then I have a retic that's all olive color, just beautiful, one color.
Interesting.
They
I
both
wonder
need
what
to
that
go, Rob.
Yeah, that's a lot of snake poop that's right there. And I know that's what when you look at a big berm or a big retic, I just think, oh man, when they poop, get the shovel ready.
We have probably, I don't know, probably 15 large animals like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And nowhere near what Nerd has, of course. But it's a
It's a
an
task.
undertaking when we have to clean them. It's
Just
it's,
taking them out and
you got to soak them. You got to take care of them. You got to make sure they're shedding properly. You got to make
Yep.
sure they're healthy. So it's work. It really is.
Yeah.
yeah. I think that one of the things in the hobby that people don't get, like a lot of people when they get a reticulated python or even a Burmese python, people get them when they're like this big, when they're like a little itty bitty baby, and they're like, wow, I really like this snake, it's very interesting, and then they get 10 more, and I'm like, you haven't even raised one yet, you don't know what it's like to take out a 13-foot long 80-pound snake that is going to buck you, and like when it poops, it's like a big baby in the cage. I
love reticulated pythons and berms, but I'll tell you, I had a reticulated python in here. It was a Oasis. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, yeah. The big.
It was from the University of Massachusetts, from Al Richmond.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I gave it to a zoo, but I'll tell you what, that animal got loose one day, got in the back of the shop, went up on the shelf, and the two guys that were handling it got away, went up on the shelf, and this animal was lightning fast. Al never had anybody handle it. It was lightning fast, 15 feet long, the skinniest thing you've ever seen. Just lightning going across the floor and then onto the shelf.
Ooh.
And then one of my guys is standing there going like, how are we going to get him down? I'm like, we're going to climb up there and grab him.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, this is not what I signed up for.
No, what you got to do is call Al and be like, hey, dude.
Behind me. Who's going to climb up there? All right, I'll do it. So I climb up on the ladder, and the animal sticks his head out, looks at me, and punches me just as hard as it can. Right in the arm. I put my arm like this because it was going to hit me in the face.
Yeah.
Hit me in the arm right here. Took a chunk out of my arm. And I was like, okay.
It's got to go. Get it out of here.
It's got to go.
And I like retics. Retics are they're the smartest snakes there are. I don't know how you feel about that, but they're so.
Rob has his reservations.
Yeah.
See, if I had that experience with Al's snake, I would have been right on the phone with Al and be like, "Listen, dude, we got to talk real quick, bud."
He was retiring. There was no choice there.
That's fair enough.
There was nobody at the university to take care of the animals anymore. So
yeah.
It was just. I mean, we got a lot of cool stuff, but it was that one animal kind of. I still think about that retic and. I go up to your place and I see retics up there and they're like, not that bad.
No.
And I have a few here that are really nice animals, really beautiful, intelligent creatures. But man, I never want to deal with another snake. Like I'd rather deal with a mamba.
Oh man.
Sheesh.
Honestly.
See, I have not worked with mambas before. And
You know what?
I haven't been super
Don't bother.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not very interested in working with them personally. The only reason I would want to work with one is just to get a feel for how they move. But I feel like I've worked enough fast arboreal snakes that I know that they're going to be faster and worse than those.
Well, if you can imagine someone shooting an arrow out of a bow, that's what you're looking at.
Yeah,
and
with
shooting
venom on the end.
right. That animal coming out of the cage like a rocket, and you can't. A lot of times professionally, we'll tail the animals. We'll pick them up with a hook and tail the animal with our hands.
Yeah.
We're not free handling, but we're doing a
Manipulating
proper handling, how to handle that animal, and you can control him that way.
Yeah.
You can't do that with a mamba. You need 2 sticks. You need a pair of tongs. It depends on the animal, but the 2 green, I've had 2 West African greens. They are the worst. Honestly, I've handled blacks. I've handled the others. I've never handled a Jameson, but I'll give this to you, Rob. I'll bring it right up to you.
No. That's not what I was saying. I think the Westerns are gorgeous. Like I like the Westerns and the Jamesons way better than I like the Easterns.
Yeah, the Easterns are they're like a green grass snake.
Exactly. It's like there's so many all green snakes, and then the Westerns and the Jamesons. The Westerns and the Jamesons with that like netting down the body. I think that looks really.
You want to hear a cool story?
Yes.
So back in the day, this was probably in the early 2000s. And we're working for Petco, doing programming for Petco and stuff, which they've stopped all that stuff now. But when they were big into education. So I'm in the Petco in Danbury, Connecticut. It's a very busy store. And back then, that's when Midwest was in business.
Oh, yeah. Midwest Tongs?
Oh, yeah.
No, not Midwest Tongs. Midwest Reptiles or something like that.
Okay.
But it was out west somewhere out there.
Yeah.
Ohio, Kansas, one of those places. And they had shipped a bunch of African house snakes to this Petco. Yeah. You already know where I'm going with this. The manager is a reptile guy. He loves animals. Did a great job with them. And so he's taking these house snakes out, and he looks at the one, and he's like, And so they used to feed live back then when they were closed. They wouldn't feed, dead, frozen dead. They just fed live. And so he threw a mouse in with it, and one of the snakes bit this mouse, and it died within seconds. So
need to clench up a little.
He calls me on the phone and he says, "What do you think?" I said, "Send me a picture." It's a baby boom slang.
Wow.
Shit.
Shipped in as an African house snake, and it passed right by everybody. They never even saw it. And
oh my God.
Got delivered to the Petco. Yep.
Imagine someone taking that home and they're like,
"No,
this snake is really weird."
Imagine
the corner of my eye is bleeding. Is this normal?
Is this normal?
What's the blood coming out of your ear?
Ears,
yeah, exactly.
That can't be normal. The eye, that happens sometimes. With the ears, I don't ever have that happen. Someday I should sit down and write all this stuff down. There's so many stories and so many incredible experiences, and this is what's in store for educators and people who are educated by us. And it's so important to do this stuff. Always do this stuff. Never let it go. Yeah. That's why I'm really glad that we're doing the podcast. It gives us an opportunity to kind of document a little bit of some of the stories that, not just me and Jeremy have, but some of the other people who we have on as well. Because, I know that you've got a plethora of stories.
Oh my God. Yeah, I could go on and on all night. Believe me, we could fill an hour with just stories. From being at the alligator farm, where back then, it was just Jim Darlington, I, and Greg, and one other person, and Lynn Kirkland, and we didn't shift animals out of their enclosures to clean them.
Oh no, you just
Orinoco crocodiles, Nile crocodiles, Gomek, the big salty.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't shift animals, gharials. We didn't shift animals into a separate area. We went in with them and we were careful.
Yep.
And that's how we did it back then. And man, I think about that. I'm lucky I'm still here, honestly. It's kept me young, believe me.
I feel
imagine.
that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I remember coming to Nerd back in the day and some of the wild things that would happen at Nerd, and I was like, is this really happening right now?
Yeah, when they were in the old facility, yeah. I remember that way back.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Good times.
No, but the stories, man, I feel like the stories they offer another level of education.
Yes.
Right.
Especially to those who are already kind of invested in the hobby, or they're like, I think snakes are cool and whatever, and they want to learn a little bit more. Of course you can now you can watch YouTube videos and all this other stuff, but to get a chance to listen to somebody who has decades of experience, especially when protocol or ideas of keeping that we have now didn't exist, and hearing what that was like then, can give people a whole different perspective on. Yeah, and I think that's like, I know for me, one of my favorite things coming up was like getting the chance to just eavesdrop on some stories, or just be able to sit at a table with some guys who have been doing it for a long time, and then you'd be like, oh man, that sounds really cool, or then like at some point I have a reference to go back and be like, hey, I heard you talking about this ridiculously scary, not safe thing that you were doing. Can we talk more about that?
I still do that. I hide around the tables at a conference or something. I'll hide around and I'll listen, and I still do that. So
yeah, man,
it's so funny.
It's fun to relate the stories that I have, and the more I think about it, the more I think that was just crazy. It was just, and people who are listening out there, they say, well, you're talking about education. Yeah, that was my education. It was old school education when we didn't know anything about anything.
Right.
We didn't know there were, over 30 species of crocodiles. We thought there were 23, and genetics weren't even in play then. So things like that really hit home. Talking to you guys, that hits home to me, because it's not something that I ever thought about. It's not something I think about a lot. So
yeah, people always ask me, they're like, you just know so much. What school did you go to learn these things? And I'm like, I dropped out of college. I don't know.
It's life, Rob.
Yeah,
it's life. Yeah.
I mean, the experiences you get in just working in that facility you're in are unbelievable. You can't go anywhere. You can't go to a zoo and get that experience.
No,
there's no way.
Yeah.
Working with crocodile monitors and water monitors and all, crocodilians and venomous snakes and different stuff like that, big retics and big berms and all the other stuff, the ball pythons, you can't get that experience anywhere.
No, especially at like AZA zoos where they won't even let you touch the animals.
Yeah.
I've learned so much.
Off. Right.
Yeah, I've learned so much just being able to get hands-on with the amount of animals that I've been able to get hands-on with working through Nerd. I'm so grateful for that, because back in the day when I used to volunteer when I was like 18, 19, 20, I showed them that I knew a lot about reptiles, but what really bumped it up to the next level is they were like, okay, well, some stuff. Now let's do some stuff. And they threw me in with some of the guys who were doing the big reticulated pythons and the big boas that they had. And then a couple times they would throw me in to do colubrids and ball pythons, and just being able to get hands-on and watch how these guys handle wild caught retics, and watch how these guys are dealing with, this animal that's very scared of them, and how they work their way around it. And then watching Kevin and how he works with the water monitors, there's no way you would ever learn that from a book or from a
No.
zoo. It's just not happening.
Skill like that is not taught, it's learned.
Exactly.
And Kevin's one of the best at genetics that I know. He handles animals as good as anyone out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really fascinating. We're lucky to live here in New England and have that facility up here, our facility here. We're really lucky.
Yeah, so, I definitely need to come down and check out your place because I've not even been there.
I would love to have you come.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And see everything. Yeah, because it's never a dull moment here. As it is up there, I know it's never a dull moment. So I know it's completely different businesses, but it's still not. It's never a dull moment.
No.
Yeah. I don't think it can ever be a dull moment when you're working with ridiculous animals.
Yeah, when it comes to exotics, man. I saw Tiger King. Everything's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, Tiger King. I at first came out, I turned it off. Yep. I could not. I was like, I know Doc Ansel. I know the woman.
Yep.
I've met them both. I didn't know the guy in Oklahoma, but I was like, I can't even watch this. And then Crutchfield was on it too. And
in the first 5 minutes.
The first 5 minutes he's on it. I'm like, what the hell is this?
You're like, oh, great. Great.
We just got back from Tom Crutchfield's place like 3 weeks before this came out.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we were
we just saw that guy.
We were just there. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I watched 10 minutes of it, the first 10 or 15 minutes of it, and turned it off and left it. And then people started talking about it, and I'm like, I gotta watch it.
I gotta just know. Yeah.
I went back and watched it, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. This one is freaking messaging me about it. He's like, did you watch Tiger King yet? I'm like, no, man. I don't. He's like, you have to watch Tiger King. So I went over at
came over at 9 p.m.
9 p.m.
Oh,
right? Because they're like, just when you think it doesn't get any more white and redneck,
it does.
It does. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. So I watched the first episode. I couldn't stop watching. I binged the whole thing that night until like 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Watched it all. I was glued to it because it was literally like, oh, it can't get any more crazy than that. What?
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. And it did.
Oh, it did.
Yeah, 100%.
I've heard that they're in talks to put out a show called Cobra King, which should be coming to Netflix shortly.
Who is doing that?
It's already been filmed quite a bit.
I don't know who's all.
I don't know everyone who's in it, but I know a few of the names who have said that they have been recording with Netflix to do that. So,
do you think that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing?
Oh, it's going to be horrible. It's going to be really gnarly for the hobby. Like, I don't see how it could possibly be good.
How are we going to survive that? I mean,
the thing is, so here's the deal: that with Tiger King, one of the things that I noticed was that I was like, because when it came out, I did watch the whole thing, and then I watched it again. The first time just to like see what the heck everyone was talking about, and the second time to really see how the editors put everything together and how they kind of spun the story to make it interesting for people.
Sure.
And the weeks following that coming out, the people who are involved in Tiger King really just shut up. They didn't say anything. There was not really anyone coming out and saying anything. And not just the people who were involved in the documentary, but the other people in the big cat industry were not really getting out there and being like, hey, look, we're not all crazy. We're not all, we're not trying to abuse animals. We just really love these animals, and not getting out there and talking about it. I think that the way that the reptile hobby could kind of curb that is we have enough people that have decent platforms. If we get out there and say, hey, look, the reptile hobby is growing exponentially every single year. You might see some people who free handle cobras and some people who, smuggle stuff and this, that, and the other thing. But that's not all the people who keep reptiles. There's lots of people who have a pet bearded dragon. There's a lot of kids who have leopard geckos. There's a couple kids who, have got 2 ball pythons and they want to breed their ball pythons or corn snakes, and they just love their pet corn snake. It's not, the one thing that the big cat people don't have that the reptile industry does have is that not as many younger people are thoroughly involved with the big cats, just because it's not safe for younger people to really do that.
Sure.
Whereas we have the added bonus of kids can have a leopard gecko or a crested gecko or a ball python or a corn snake or, you know, some sort of other lizard or, you know, a chameleon or whatever. And it's not, you know, I'm using air quotes here, dangerous to the people. And if they spin this as, you know, oh, everyone just wants to keep venomous and giant snakes and blah blah blah, that's not the whole reptile hobby. And if we can get out there and say, hey, look, you know, this is a TV show for entertainment, it's not the reality of what most people are doing in their homes. You know, you have to realize that this is not everyone who keeps reptiles. I think that it could be pushed in a more positive direction. This is me trying to be optimistic, but I think that I don't see how it could be, you know, a good thing for the reptile hobby, honestly. Just
I mean, I'm worried about it. I'm going to be optimistic, but I am extremely worried about it. I don't want to lose what we do. We do too much good for, you know, the habitats and environment and the kids and the families that watch us and all of that. You know, we're all in this together. We have to fight together. You know, we have to come together as one and fight this thing, because otherwise no one's going to be able to own a hamster, a gerbil, a fish in a fish tank, for God's sake. Because they're not just after us. They're after everything. And that is where people do not look. They don't they don't want any animals in any situations, dogs or cats.
Yeah. Right. No? Literally nothing. Yeah. I tell it to people all the time when I've had a couple ranty videos on my Instagram about legislation and stuff, just because, you know, people fail to realize, like, it's really easy to make a snake seem like the boogeyman.
Right.
And, you know, this evil creature, because it's a snake. And
most people don't have experience with a snake.
Yeah, and everything you see on TV is man-eating giant monsters and blah blah blah. You know, so that's all you're ever
gonna
fed.
Swallow this guy on Animal Planet.
Yeah, you know, and that's all you're fed. You know, so there's nothing necessarily to combat that unless you're out there doing some digging for it. You know,
Burmese pythons are overrunning Florida. No, they're not. Are they a problem? Yes. Are they overrunning? No.
Right.
And, you know, just
and the U.S. Geological Survey that said that they can live all the way up into Washington D.C. Oh my God, they're coming to your backyard.
Was it? I thought it was Pennsylvania, but Washington D.C. That's still far fetched. I mean, that animal. I have Burmese pythons that get sick if it's 50 degrees. For God's sake.
Yeah.
They get sick if it's 75.
Yeah.
They got a cold. They're blowing snot. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. No, it really is crazy, you know, but yeah, I don't think enough people understand that the forces that we're up against, you know, when it comes to the anti-pet movement are just
and the main people driving it is HSUS. HSUS is the largest nonprofit company in the world. Notice I didn't say government organization, because they are not a government organization. They are a nonprofit. And I mean, look at the guy who ran it. I mean, he went to jail, didn't he? For something.
He was up. I would know that he was up to, he had charges pressed against him.
Right.
What was I gonna say? Oh, when we just recently were able to speak at the Zoom meetings for Florida, because Florida was talking about banning tegus and iguanas, and I was able to talk on there, and I did. You know, I was like, look, you guys need to make sure that you're not getting things that are backed by HSUS, because they are literally not saving animals. They're not. They don't care about the animals. They want to ban people's interactions with animals. And if you check out places like humanewatch.org, you know, they're watching where the funds for HSUS goes, and it's petition, it's lobbying. It's not going to your local shelter. It's not going to saving animals' lives.
Well, here in Massachusetts, they cut off the Cape Wildlife Center. They cut them off completely. You know, they were supported by HSUS. I don't know how much a percentage they got from them, but they cut all of that support out. everything goes to lobbying, like you said,
Yeah.
and their salaries.
Mhm.
Yep.
So,
100%.
Yep.
Yeah, it really is. It really is ridiculous. And again, I just think that's the biggest point that we all need to continuously drive home is like, man, they're gonna pick the low hanging fruit first, and that's the reptiles.
Right.
You know, that's the evil reptile, the evil snake from down the street. You know, but you know when it suddenly is targeted at little Johnny's hamster, you know,
It's gonna be.
what are you gonna do?
Jeremy, it's coming.
Exactly. I mean, and we saw it with HR 669 back in the day when it was like we're talking about anything non-native,
quote unquote exotic, anything that's
Plants,
not native to the U.S.
fish, mammals, birds, and it
ferrets, hamsters.
it was
guinea
I think
pigs
one of the few times that the entire pet industry
came together.
You know, because it's for the most part it's pretty niche and clickbait, you know, based. You know, you've got your reptile people, your mammal people, your this, your
Birds,
that,
yeah.
you know.
Yep.
And it was like that one time where we were like, oh shit, this is real.
Yep.
Like this is unfortunately crazy real. And after that got squashed, it's been like this slow, steady creep to be like, okay, well, let's see if we can take that. If we can take that right now, then we're just gonna do that. And we're going to put that in the back pocket. And then we're going to try a little bit later to go for the next thing and then see what we can do from there. You know?
It is what it is. I just, I'm going to fight it until the day I expire. But it's one of those things that, we have to live with. And if there's bad plumbers out there, there's bad mechanics, there's bad everything. Each industry has its bad things. And I don't think they think about that. I really don't think they think about, I didn't get my car repaired correctly. And it's a little different because there's a life involved in it, a snake or a reptile or a dog or cat or whatever. But still, it's not that much different than, there are people that are not going to do it correctly, and the husbandry is going to be way bad. So,
Yep, 100%.
Let's not
unfortunately true.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
well, we always ask one question right at the end to kind of end things on a positive note, and we ask all of our guests who are on Reptile Talk this one very important question, and that is, in the realm of reptiles, whether it be something that you're doing with your collection, something that you've seen someone else doing on the internet, because scrolling on Instagram, looking on Facebook, seeing all these people that are doing these incredible things, or otherwise, what is something that is in the realm of reptiles that's got you excited about reptiles right now?
Everything. Every animal out there, Rob, from the Burmese python to the leopard gecko, and you know what? To tokay geckos, to the endangered stuff like the indigo, the venomous stuff, everything. I'm always excited about animals, period. I mean, there's not just one thing, it's everything. And I don't think a lot of people think about how lucky. I mean, I consider myself one of the luckiest people in the world to be able to do what I do and to be able to have worked with all these crocodilians and animals like this. It's just, I have to say everything, although I do have my favorites, of course. But I have to say everything. It's just, it encompasses everything. And educating kids, there is no better feeling in your gut when you walk away from a show and that kid, that mom writes you back 5 or 6 days afterwards and says, they are still talking about that snake or that alligator or leopard gecko, whatever it might have been, and spiders. You can keep your spiders, Rob. Let me tell you something really quick. Working for the alligator farm for years, we'd have to clear the fences, right? Go through around the perimeter fences and look. And the golden silk spiders they're orb weaving spider, golden silk spiders, and they're about as big as your thumb. And they would, with these big spindly legs, and they'd make these golden nests between the trees and the fence. And you take a bamboo pole and just kind of wind them up in there. And as you're going, as you're going down through, looking at the fence, they're dropping on you and kind of nipping at you, all over you. You keep your spiders, Rob. Reptile Man is not doing spiders. I'm sorry.
That's too good. You know what? I'm gonna have to come bring some spiders down there. We're gonna have to change your mind. That's all it has to come down to.
No. Let me just say this again. No.
Oh man.
You know, you and I have a mutual friend, Alan Both.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I love Alan.
That son of a gun. One day, I don't know where we were. We were at a show somewhere, a pet expo somewhere in Pennsylvania or New York, one of those.
Yeah.
And he's got his animals out and he's trading them and doing stuff. And he takes this pink-toed tarantula out and he throws it, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 feet. Where does it land?
Right on you.
On you.
Michael's chest. runs up my face, over my face, onto my head, and I'm freaking out. I mean, I just, I love all animals, but I can
Spiders a little less.
along.
Oh my goodness, that's great. Dude.
Yeah.
All right. So, Mike, if people want to find out more about the work that you're doing with Rainforest Reptiles or with RRS Oasis, where should they go to find you? Where should they go find out more?
Well, they can call us at 978-922-5107, or they can join us on, social media. Rainforest Reptile Shows and RRS Oasis both have Facebook pages. We're on Instagram at Rainforest Reptile Shows Oasis, something like that. Sorry.
If you search it, you'll find it. Trust me.
Yeah,
But
I'll make sure it's in the link too.
Yeah, www.rainforestreptileshows.com, and that has our nonprofit Oasis on it. And we started the nonprofit because we had so many animals coming in that we had to get help. Joni and I funded this for years and years by ourselves. So we had to have that help from the nonprofit, grants and things like that to help. And, we have so many great people like the Blairs, Kat and Mike Blair and their kids, and Kristen, who works for me. We have so many great supporters, the New England Herpetological Society, and Dan Rowe and those guys. Just, unbelievable support that we get from these people and organizations. So we really appreciate it all.
That's so sweet.
Amazing.
And it has been awesome talking to you this
Hell
evening.
yeah,
I'm
man.
so pumped that we
Thank you.
finally made it happen. We're going to have you on again because I feel like I got a lot more stories to dig up from you.
I still want to bring a forest cobra into the studio. So.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
that'd be pretty awesome. That'd be pretty awesome. I'm just saying though, after this last spider story, I think we need to have Alan and Mike on at the same time.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. I'm here for it. I feel like we should do that in person now.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
There we go.
all right. So thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yes,
We
thank
love
you,
you.
Mike.
Love the work that you're doing. Thank you so much. Like I said, we're gonna have you on sometime again soon.
Yeah, you guys keep up the great work. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
We're trying.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Have a nice night, man.
You too.
Take care.
Bye.